Hello there. Today, what we're going to do is an interview with a developer, and this is developer's name is Martin. I'm going to let him say his full name because I don't know that I would do anything but butcher his last name. He's from over in Europe, and we're just going to get him to explain who he is and his education, prior work, career, and what he's working on now. So, without me holding up the process, go ahead, Martin.
Hi, yeah, thanks for the invitation. Yeah, my name is Martin, and my last name is pronounced Mais, so Martin Mais is pronounced, and I live in Germany. And yeah, I'm a programmer and I'm a game developer, and I work in game development for more than 20 years now. And yeah, it all started in school where we had computer science in the ninth class, so it was very basic, and actually we learned QBasic, a very old and very simple programming language. And when I had one 1 hour of QBasic, then I noticed, oh, it's not that hard to get into it, get into development, and I already had some ideas which kind of games I could do just with some very simple things, like just some conditions and just some text output. So then I was hooked basically from the first hour, and then during school, so at home, I started to develop some, of course, very simple games, but it was very fun. And then my older brother, he's 10 years older than me, he couldn't see QBasic anymore, so he bought me Delphi. So it's a very nice package and a very nice programming language, like Pascal. It's inherited from that, and then it was much easier for me to develop games with custom graphics. So I got into that, and after school, I I did an apprenticeship in a games company. So I thought about studying computer science, but then I saw this and it sounded very good for me. So I did an apprenticeship in computer science. It's called Fachinformatiker in Germany. I have no idea how that's if there is something similar in other countries. I guess so. Um, so there I could directly work with them because I already knew a lot about programming. So at that time, so that's now more than 20 years ago, I um, I developed some mobile games, and at that time that was something new that you can play something uh, on a mobile phone. So it wasn't a smartphone, just a very simple mobile phone.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that was also very nice to learn. And so at that time, I think we developed 2 or 3 games. It was nice to see and yeah, how people played and the reaction. And um, also during that time, I developed an RPG. So all the time I had some side projects, and at that time it was also a 2D RPG because I really like to play Diablo 1 and 2 and Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and things like that. So isometric RPGs are one of my preferred games, and
Right. Let me just
also
interrupt you right there. I'll just yeah, I don't have Diablo here because my copies were digital, but I've got my anthology of all the Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dales. And I've got my Neverwinter Nights 1, which, from my personal opinion, the best game creation engine that anyone's ever
yeah.
put out. It was just amazing. And my Neverwinter Nights 2. And I don't know if you can see, but I've got my Dark Basic up here, my Game Maker's Apprentice, my
Yeah, that's nice. Dark Basic is
Cal Art
something I
stuff, but
tried at one point. Yeah.
same stuff. So it's like we come from like the same, loving the same genre. So I just wanted to throw that in there so you knew where I was at, and I'll let you keep going. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, no worries. Um, yeah, and this game, it was called Cobalt Online. I developed it with a friend who did all the game design. He did some very complex game design, and I did all the implementation. At that time, I used Delphi for that. That was my preferred language at that time. And it was developed quite far. Maybe I can send you some screenshots afterwards.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that'd be cool.
um, yeah, and then after that, that took 2.5 years, this apprenticeship. And then I found a job at a company called Related Designs, and they developed the Anno 1701 game. I don't know
Oh,
if you know the Anno series,
yeah,
so
yeah,
build,
I've
build up
played them.
RTS.
I
Yeah.
actually
So,
own that one. It's in my Steam
ah,
collection.
oh, nice. So they were searching for programmers, and I was lucky to be one of them. So I joined them, and that was now 20 years ago, or even more than that, a bit more. And started there as a junior game programmer and worked on Anno 1701 as a game programmer. I was working on a lot of different things, like I developed a quest system, I worked on military AI, I worked on items, I developed a tool to configure all the things like configure quests, configure items, uh, balance everything. So that was also a very important task I did at that
Cool.
time. And yeah, at that time the company was called Related Designs, and later on it was bought by Ubisoft, and I also was still there at that time. So I developed three Anno games and the add-ons for these, and then I worked on Might and Magic Heroes Online, so
Oh,
the
okay.
so the browser game of it was also an interesting experience. And since I like RPGs and the style was also 2D isometric, it was also very interesting for me. And afterwards, I became a lead programmer for two AAA games. So at Ubisoft, these are really huge. So there are hundreds of developers working on them at the same time, and I was leading a team in Germany with uh, around about 7 programmers, but it always changed. So I worked on Skull and Bones, the pirate game, and I worked on Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is
Oh
still not
yeah,
released yet.
yeah, yeah.
But that's a huge project. And then after being 15 years at this company, so at Relate Designs, which was bought by Ubisoft, I joined Keen Games, where I'm working right now, and I'm working since more than 5 years now. And we are working on Enshrouded, so an
Yeah.
RPG game, and yeah, that's
Very popular game. Very well known title right now. Yeah.
yeah, it's very successful. That's also very nice to work there, and I'm working on gameplay also there most of the time. So that's what I enjoy the most, working on gameplay and working on AI related topics, game
Now is
AI.
now is that its own engine or is that like an Unreal or a
Yes, it's its own
it's
engine.
its
Yes,
own engine. Okay, yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome.
That's
That's
what I'm
that
doing right now. Yeah, and yeah, and as I said, I always have some side projects, and RPG Tools is the side project which I work on since I'm not sure 5 years maybe or even more. I need to look that up.
yeah, it's been a while on there. You're so that brings us into the RGP tools section. And so currently on screen, people can see that I've got the itch.io page up for RGP tools. And that's currently where you're hosting it, and people can get it there with a content pack. Do you still have the version without the content pack with just a couple basic
Yes,
things, or okay? So they could try it out with that one. Is that one free or is that for sale? The
yes.
non-content
The
pack one.
other version is free. It's you can donate if you want, but it's completely free,
I would.
and it's
Sorry, I was just gonna say I would highly recommend if you pick that one up, throw them a couple bucks. I mean, even the price on the full content pack, which is by far worth it, is very reasonable, and you get another very talented artist, Jesse's artwork included in that bundle, and there's enough there to make a D&D style game. Like, it's a really good way to start. I say, if you got the option, pick up the content pack. It's worth it. It gives you so much value for your dollar. Like, it's really worth it. If you're at all interested in making these type of games, pick up the content pack one. Give Martin the money. Keep him developing. Um, Sorry, I got a little distracted there, just trying to plug your product because I think it is a completely amazing product. I haven't seen a product come along with this user-friendly toolkit since the Neverwinter Nights toolset. Now, honestly, between you and me, it's not as good as the original Neverwinter Nights toolset, but it is still a work in progress. And every time you make a change to this thing, it just gets better and better and better. And I am loving it. I can only think where this is going in the future. It's such an awesome tool set. But go ahead and
Yeah, thanks a lot.
tell us where you got inspired and came up with the idea for it, because I do know that I used to use this when I was making basically like RGP Maker style games and stuff. I was using it to create my character sheets from PV Games assets, and that's all I was using it for to begin with when I was first
Yeah,
introduced to it. So tell us how it got started and how it started and how it's developed from then to now.
yeah, yeah. As I said, one of my older project uh, was a 2D RPG game, and I I always thought about doing something like that again in the future. And then I found PV Games assets, so Jesse's assets, and I think they look really great. And once I saw them and saw all the character sheets, I thought, okay, for that I need the tool to create sprite sheets. So that's how everything started. And when I began, I just prototyped a quick tool to export sprite sheets, and then I shared it in the PV Games Discord. And then I noticed that a lot of people seem to need something like that. So I expanded it over time, and there were people who requested some features, and then it evolved. And so that was the beginning of the character creator. Yeah, so I start with that, but I still wanted to do some RPG game or some RPG engine, just because it's interesting for me, and I always like to create things on my own, and this is my preferred project type, kind of. Um, but in the beginning, yeah, it was just a character creator, and then I extended it by adding a level editor, which is also useful for people using other engines like RPG Maker, so they can use the level editor just to create their maps and then export them. And in RPG Maker, it's called parallax mapping, as far as I know. And they some of them use it like that, so they just use the character creator and the level editor, and then use any other engine. So there are also people who use Godot or Unreal or whatever, so you can just use it as a helper tool. But then when the level editor uh, was in a good state, I continued to extend everything and developed a small prototype of an engine. And yeah, I'm continuously working on it. I'm really enjoying it, and I also like to just think about new features, to plan them, and then to try them out. Sometimes I am also just testing things out just for fun, or sometimes a lot of times there are also user requests, or there's some feedback, and then I react to that, or then I think, okay, that's I would help this user, so I can quickly implement it. And so it evolved over time and still evolving. Yeah, so I'm trying to work on it continuously. I don't have much spare time, but I always try to find some time to continuously work on it. And
Yeah, well, you whenever there's any bugs come up or anything, like, you're right on top of it. Like, I mean, for most people in a spare time project, you kind of expect a week or 2 weeks, but I mean, you're now people don't expect this because life gets busy, but this guy, he makes changes within a few days, like 2 days, 3 days, sometimes a week. But it's like if there's a bug in there, he's on top of it quick, like very very rapid response.
Yeah, thanks.
Um, so where do you see the future of it going? So the state it's at right now, it's pretty functional. Like I think it's usable. If people want to start developing, there are a few things that you still need to add to it, and a few things that you're reworking. Like you were saying before, that you were kind of reworking the Quest engine a little bit, and you wanted to make some improvements there. And you just did a whole cleanup, and you cleaned a bunch of stuff out of the core, and you've made it a little faster and a little more responsive. But the current state's very, very functional from what I'm seeing. But where do you see it going in the near future, and then where do you see it going maybe a couple of years from now? Like, what's
Yeah,
your roadmap? Unofficial, of course.
yeah, yeah. I have no big roadmap, but I have a lot of things I want to do for sure. And the next steps are mostly I want to make everything a bit smoother, especially for newcomers, because some people like you get used to it, and there are some things in the beginning which are um, not that good, and I want to polish that and to make it easier for first-time users, especially, but also in general. For example, what I'm currently doing is there are a lot of windows in the tool, and the library I use, it's called imgui. It supports docking windows, but you have to do that manually, and you have to figure out that it even exists, this feature that you can dock windows next to each other. And what I'm currently doing is to create a default workspace, which is much better than when the tool currently starts. It's depending on the editor, there are some different modes like the level editor and the data editor.
So I have a
And
picture of that. I'm just gonna just switch over here and see if I've got
yeah,
a picture.
and
Um,
okay,
no,
yeah,
I
it's
don't
fine.
think I do. I don't think I
Yeah,
do.
but there are a lot of different windows. Like you have a dedicated window for your equipment, and you have a window where you see the preview of your sprite, and a window where you can select the unit. And I want to polish the initial state so that when a user starts the tool for the first time, it's cleaner than it currently is. Currently, you have to resize the windows sometimes, or to move stuff around, or to find out where some windows are located. So I want to improve that.
Right.
That's that's something I'm currently working on. Um,
I don't find it
yeah,
that bad. The thing when I first started on the tool, the thing that was the most confusing to me was honestly the first splash screen, where it
yeah,
was create a project or do an image edit or whatever. That very first screen in the engine when you
yes,
first get started, that was the only real confusing part. Once I was in the engine with a little bit of poking around and a few Discord comments and answers, it was actually pretty easy for the main interface. Once you knew to switch between level editor, character editor, etc. Once you knew to switch up there to data editor and stuff, it wasn't too bad. I found most of those cleaned out, but that very first screen when you open up the program and you need to create a new project from the template, a lot of people will create a new blank project and they don't realize, okay, now what do
yeah,
I do? And so it's more for me. What my experience was that just that very first screen was the most confusing part.
yes,
Everything
that's
else
right.
is kind of good. Like it works pretty well, like most other game engines. If you have any experience in any game engine, you can kind of fumble your way around and figure it out. Like
Yeah,
a few placement things, like turning on in-game graphics and set a but properties versus what's the other one with the P? Properties versus preferences. Like those two things maybe should be like in the same menu or something. But once you know they're there and you figure that out, you just gotta.
yeah,
It might take you 2 or 3 mouse clicks to find them, but you find them easy enough. It's not that confusing.
yeah.
From my experience, maybe other people have given you more feedback. Sorry, I kind of stole that away from you. I'll let you continue, but that was just kind of my feedback on that. It wasn't too bad. Like it's pretty clean once you poke around a bit.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, it also improved a lot. In the past, it was much worse. So I did already a lot of polishing. So the older versions of RPG tools were much uglier or less intuitive. But
Ah,
since it's a big tool, there's a lot of things to polish. But besides that, yeah, I'm thinking about adding more platforms. So I already prepared a lot of code. In the past, um, I had some more complex libraries, and this would make this process much harder. I also
mm-hmm.
upgraded to the new graphics library I use, like it's called SFML, and I upgrade to the latest version, which also makes it easier to stay up to date. But I'm thinking about adding Linux support or Mac support, or maybe also mobile support
So
or
for the
or
for
browser
the
games.
editor though, right? For the editor itself, because you can already export the games to Linux and Mac. I thought I saw that in there.
No, no, it's currently completely only Windows. Yeah,
Oh,
that's.
okay. Sorry, I stand corrected.
But yeah, there isn't much missing, so most of the code would already compile on other platforms. I already prepared for that, so it wouldn't be that much work, but still, definitely some work that needs to be done and some testing, of course. So that's definitely a topic where users often ask if I could add more platforms to support. Yeah, and besides that, adding some more RPG features like crafting, for example, you could
Yeah.
do that via scripting, but since it's a very common feature, I want to add native support for it basically. So the idea of the engine is that you can do all the common features without any custom scripting, so you don't have to use Lua scripting at all. But Lua scripting is nice to implement some more advanced features, or if you like it, then you can just play around with it and do some stuff which the engine can't do on its own without Lua scripting. But the idea is that Lua scripting is completely optional if you don't use any custom features.
But the scripting is also pretty easy because you've already done a bunch of additional scripts. Um, and once a guy figures out where to put those and how to attach them, it's pretty easy just to add additional Lewis scripts and just tag it. So, like for instance, I'll just give an example. When you create an area like what people are seeing on screen right now, this dungeon. Say you wanted to make this dungeon at a different camera zoom level, for instance, because you and I went over this before when I was trying to figure it out. If you wanted to make sure that this whole dungeon was zoomed in by 25%, you could just in the on the event tab for this dungeon when it loads, you could just pull down say on load, on area load, and then attach a script to it, and then it would have that camera zoom in an extra 25%, a simple Lewis script.
Yeah,
So, and there's other ways to do that as well. Like I've been very fond of using areas to trigger those things, but you can simply attach scripts in multiple areas relatively easy. And so it's just a matter of time of people figuring out the scripts they want, or you adding more scripts, or the community adding more scripts. You've made it pretty easy for people to incorporate that. It's not like they've got to do a whole bunch of hard level writing and then compiling or anything like that. You've made it pretty simple to add your own scripting.
yeah, yeah. That's right. It's not hard, and there is also, as you mentioned, you can just configure conditions and actions without any Lua scripting. That's also very powerful. So for most of the functions, I also provide that because that I see there are a lot of users that don't like scripting at all. But the kind of visual scripting where you just can combine conditions and actions also very powerful. In combination with variables, you can do a lot of things there.
Yeah. Speaking of conditions and actions available throughout, so for anyone who doesn't know, like this engine has a lot of different things available. Logic flow, where you pull them, you can pull down logic flow through just little tree menus, and select them and attach them to events, and you can set up events in many different ways. And it's really thorough. My one little criticism on that is not every action or logic flow is available through every section. Most of them are, but there's a few that aren't. So, like in the questing section, um, So you maybe set up an area and add some logic to that. But if you go to do that same logic through the questing area or through a function for the character, sometimes some of the functional isn't available yet. And I'm sure that that's just a simple matter of that you haven't been able to think of every single place to link every single thing of logic. And as they're brought up and mentioned to you, I'm sure it's a simple matter to go in and link them. But that's the only one thing that I've really found in that whole conditions and logic and stuff is that sometimes not everything's available in every section. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably because you just can't think of every single thing in every place to put it. There's probably no real functionality reason why they're not there, right? It's just a matter of the time involved to find every situation.
Yes, mostly, and I'm also mostly reacting to people's feedback. So if someone needs a new function, they can just tell it in Discord, and then a lot of times it's very easy to add new features like that. So if anyone needs a new action or condition, a lot of times it's very easy to add that.
Yeah, and it's usually there on the next build. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's why
yeah,
I'm thinking it's not very hard for you to do those links because I'm thinking that when the next build comes out, they're already in place usually and working. So I'm thinking it's just a matter of you're one guy working on this project. So how can you possibly think of every place to link everything, right?
yeah, yeah, right.
Cool. Um, so that being said, I mean, I think this engine's great. My thoughts on it, like it's great. There's a couple little areas that are obviously just works in progress. Um, I can't think of any reason why this couldn't be used, at least in the development phase at this point in time. Like it might need a little more polish and stuff, and to get to where you're actually going to publish a game. But I think it's pretty close to it. Has there been anyone that's actually published with it yet at its current state, or is it mostly development at this point?
I think at this point it's mostly in development, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure. There were some projects where I'm not sure about the current state, but I think so far no game was published with this engine, or at least I'm not aware of it.
Right, understood. What about yourself? Are you working on any games in it, or are you just trying to get the tool done because you want to work on a game on it, or where are you sitting playing with it, actually using your tool?
I'm using the tool mostly to prototype some things, but in the future I also want to develop at least a demo game with it. No very big game, but I think I will create demo game maybe with one of my friends who can do a lot of the content stuff.
Gotcha. There is something I wanted to point out to people about that you've done ingeniously in this game. Like, like it's a super smart way to do it. And at first, it can be aggravating because you don't necessarily understand how it works under the hood. But once you figure out how to use it, it is such a powerful tool. And that's your offset sorting on your object layer. So he's set up several layers because it is essentially 2D that you're working with. So like if people look on the screen right now, you'll see like you paint tiles down, and like that ground will be tiles. Then you'll see these items like these glowing rocks and some bigger rocks. Those might be put on the background layer. So if you were putting bushes or flowers in, you'd put those on the background layer. Larger things, buildings, trees, and stuff, you put on the object layer. The object layer is also the unit layer, which is like any like living objects, monsters, characters, whatever, they function on that same layer. Well, what he's done, say for instance, this the top part of the screen, you've got this big rock surface here. Well, in 3D, you're going to be in front of that object, and then at a certain point, you'll go behind that object. So, like if it was a house or something, well, or a big rock. What he's done is he's done this offset layer thing where you can actually go in and you can adjust by the pixel how much the player offsets that object on the object layer. And so what you can do is you can fine tune exactly where your player character walks over it before he starts to walk behind it. And of course, there's a tool called the path tool where you can block and you can sort out what the player can pass or not pass. Most engines have that. And in this engine, like in other engines, it's represented by a little red blocking square where you paint where the player can't go. But with this offset tool, which other engines don't do, other 2D engines don't do, is you can fine tune adjust right down to the pixel on every object you place where that player can go on front of the object and where he is then behind the object. And it's just an amazing functionality. Adding that offset sort has now given the people using the engine, developing their game, such fine-tuned control that you can really, really customize your own content where in a lot of engines you couldn't do it before. So I just wanted to point that out because that's a marvelous feature that other people need to implement. Like that's just, it's crazy good, is what I'm saying. How did you come up with that?
Um, yeah, to be honest, that was mostly very very simple to implement and but still powerful, yes. But I also want to look into this topic again because yeah, you can uh, yeah, you can tweak this sorting feature a lot to make it more user friendly or more powerful. Because currently you have just one position you use for the sorting, but for bigger objects it gets complicated and it's yeah, that's the main issue you have with 2D games like that. The,
But yeah, the way
that
you did it though, like
sorting always works.
with the offset and being able to do it by the pixel, like wow, like that. We needed that years ago in other engines. We yeah, that's amazing. Like you say it's simple, but it's like revolutionary to those of us building maps out and designing. Like it's so good because it was usually always a hard fixed point, or it was a blocking system where you'd have a block system where you could go in front of, and then another colored block where you'd be behind it, and then it would just interpret running into those blocks. But you've got it right down to the pixel, so that's pretty cool. I just hats off to you on that one. So I think we're kind of running out of time here. So I just do you have any final thoughts? Any upcoming projects you're going to be working on, or anything noteworthy? And also, where can people find you besides your itch.io and your Discord channel? Where else can people find
um, yeah, I'm besides that I'm on LinkedIn, so if you want to connect to me, you can find me there too. Um, yeah, besides that on YouTube, yeah, with the mostly with RPG tools videos, but I definitely need to do some new again. The ones on YouTube are quite old.
you? Yeah, I've been
I
trying to
also
cover
want
you on
to,
that. I've been trying to
but
cover you on
yeah,
that.
thanks a lot for adding tutorial videos. That's great. Yeah, that's. I also want to link your videos in the official RPG tools
Oh,
if you want.
you bet. Sure, sure. We could
That
have a
would be.
channel for that or whatever you want to
Yeah, I
do.
think it's really great that that you do that. Yeah, I also want to do some topics again, some tutorials, but for now I'm focusing on the development.
Well, that's excellent. I'm glad you were able to find the time. I know it's late where you are and relatively early where I am. So I'm very glad you were able to find the time for this interview. And I'm going to post it on the Discord. I'll throw it on my YouTube and put it on the Discord. And I'm hoping that this inspires other hobbyists. And I also I really hope that it brings more people in to be interested in this engine because I really want to see this proceed. I want to see where you go next with it. So thank you very much, Martin. I really appreciate you making the time to be here today.
Yeah, no problem. It was very nice, and thanks for the invitation.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.